Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Then the other thing is you suggested that I buy a particular device.
Yes.
Okay, to hold my what?
Your crypto. Well, excuse me. It's not holding your crypto. Your crypto's always on the blockchain. It's to hold your private keys. And that's what you didn't understand. So talk to me about your understanding of it and where you're confused, and I'll clear it up.
Yeah, why can't I write my private keys on a piece of paper and put them in my bank vault, or assuming I had in my home a vault that I could lock and be incredibly secure and no one's going to break in and blast the vault out of the floor of my room. Why couldn't you do that?
You could.
Okay.
And you should, not with your private keys, but with your seed phrase, which is basically an encrypted version of the private keys. And we'll get into that in just a moment. But if you want to start transacting, how are you going to transact then?
Right.
I'm asking you, how are you?
I know. I've got to go into my vault, pull out my piece of paper, and enter the keys that are in there and then put them back. You're saying with this device, it's able to transact automatically.
Yes and no. Okay. So let's get into, you mentioned MetaMask before.
Right.
There's two forks. There's something called hot wallets or web wallets, and there's cold storage wallets like the Ledger. And even some of the big, and then there's always exchanges. You can leave it on the exchange. That would be like you buy stocks, which, Right
now I've got Coinbase. That's on the exchange. I don't really own it, right? It's because I haven't taken delivery of it.
Yeah, I mean, you do technically, but it's all backed by the full faith and credit of Coinbase. And that's assuming it's, having it on Coinbase is like having it on keeping your stocks at Charles Schwab, which a lot of people feel very safe with, because I don't think Schwab is going broke. But if you read the fine print, if they did, or they did something shaky, technically it's their stocks. And then you have to kind of get in line with other creditors of Schwab.
Right.
But let me go back to hot wallet, cold wallet, and security, because I think it's very, very important. So there's actually three: an exchange, hot wallet, cold wallet.
Okay.
If you move your money from Coinbase Pro, if you bought Ethereum and you moved it from Coinbase Pro to MetaMask, you would set up a 12-word seed phrase and you'd have a password. Once you had your seed phrase, you would go store that in a vault somewhere. I don't know about a bank vault, because what happens if the bank person goes in there? Anybody that knows your 12 words, you never even give your 12 words to me. And I know we're very good friends. You don't tell that to anybody except for your wife.
Right.
And if she's concerned about it, I'm thinking about ways to do stuff with my wife, because she doesn't really want to get that involved. I'm thinking of writing down most of the words and then telling my estate planning attorney maybe 2 of the words or 4 of the words, and saying, like, if anything happens to me, email her those. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. So it's a 12-word phrase.
It's 12 words for MetaMask. 24 words is more secure. 24 words for ledgers and most other wallets. I like the 24. Because that combination of words is what holds your private keys. Now, and a lot of times you can export your private key, and it just like, so it's a bunch of gibberish, it's a bunch of code. And you could put that on like a Word doc on your computer, but you don't want to do that, because if somebody got into your computer and they found that, there's a saying, not your keys, not your crypto. So right now, when you have stuff on Coinbase, not your keys, not your crypto.
What does that mean? Not your keys, not your crypto.
Not your private keys. If you don't have your private keys, because Coinbase does. You have an image that says you're entitled to this, but it's backed by Coinbase. If you go to get it off, if you do the withdrawal and move it to whether a hot wallet, a web wallet like MetaMask, or a cold storage wallet of something physical like Ledger, either way, they're your keys, your crypto. Now, one is safer than the other. There's been lots, I see stuff, call it once a week, how somebody's getting scammed from MetaMask. And there's nothing wrong with MetaMask, but there is something wrong. We all download emails every day. If somebody got malware on our computer and they were able to access your password for MetaMask, they saw you put it on a clipboard, and then they got in there and they did it, or you had your private key somewhere, you had a picture, a JPEG of your 12 words or whatever, your stuff in MetaMask is gone. This is also, if you have problems and like you go on like a Twitter or Discord and go like, guys, I did a transaction and it didn't work, and I don't know what's going on. There's all kinds of very helpful people on Twitter that'll say, oh, here's a great support site for MetaMask. They got back to me very quickly. Here, put your information in here. And it's like either a very professional looking website that they made, or it's like a cheap ass Google Forms. And they put like the MetaMask logo and like describe your issue. And then they say, kindly put in your 12 words. Never put your 12 words ever. And then people put their 12 words and their crypto's gone. I have a friend who's been in this since 2016 and always used kind of mobile wallets. And he was moving some stuff around because he wanted to get into some Luna, and he was moving some stuff around. And this is also a good trick. When you're moving stuff around, even if you have to pay some extra fees, move a very small bit and make sure it goes through. Even if you have to pay double the fees, it's kind of like your tuition. And he moved a fairly big amount, it was a few thousand. And he fell for, he went to like a Discord and went like, oh, this isn't working. Did I do it wrong? And somebody had a very professional website here, put your MetaMask wallet here and your Terra Station wallet there. And he put them both and they were both gone.
Fuck.
Yeah. So the nice thing about the ledger is you're going to write down your words, and then it's a hardware device. I don't have one right now, but you're going to plug it in via USB cable. So even if somebody hacked into your computer, you have to manually put in your PIN, and the PIN basically authorizes the private keys, which are in the ledger, to authorize any transactions you want to do. Now, the worst that could happen is somebody can put some malware on your computer that when you go to say, I want to send it to this address, they can replace that with their address. But again, when you go to check it on the letter, it says, are you sure you want to do it to this address? And you just read, it's a lot to read the whole thing, but I read like the first 10, last 10, and make sure that looks the same. And if that looks the same, nobody's compromising anything, and then I authorize a transaction.
And that's all done on this device called Ledger, which holds your
Ledger Nano X. Yes.
Right. Nano X.
Your money's always on the blockchain.
Yes.
And your public address you can share with anybody. Like you'll have an address for Bitcoin, you'll have an address for Luna, you'll have an address for Ethereum, you'll have an address for whatever you get into. That you can share with anybody. You can put it like a lot of YouTubers, and I started doing this, you can put it below and I can say, if you found this helpful, send me a tip, right? There's my address. Nobody can compromise your stuff if just your public address. They need your private key or your 12 or 24 word seed phrase, which is basically an encrypted version of your private keys. And then, so if you lost your ledger, you think, oh, I'm screwed. No, then you get your keys, you get a new ledger, or you can even go to electronic wallet and you can import the words there, and then boom, it'll show the money that you have on the blockchain right there, and you'll have access to it.
All you have to remember is your 12 or 24 word seed phrase, right?
Yeah, but you don't want to be throwing that around like that. You want to
I get it.
You want to have that safe somewhere. But if you are going to be doing transacting, like every time you go to say, okay, you did an off ramp and you move it to this, and now you want to go do a liquidity pool, or you want to do some lending for a liquidity pool, or you want to do some lending because there's a hot new coin out and you can lend at a very low loan to value to get into this new coin, kind of like, it's kind of like borrowing against insurance. I'm doing that all the time. Every time you do that, you need to authorize it with your private keys. You could do it with a password and a hot wallet, but if that ever gets out there in the wrong hands, poof. It's safer to do it with an external device that you plug in. I don't have my ledger right now, but assuming this was a ledger, right? I'm just going to go check, make sure it's there.
Right. And that I heard something really, really, really nasty the other day, and maybe this ledger does reduce or avoid that. I've heard that people are being held up and asked to open up their phones and while they've been held up, asked to authorize transactions to move their
if everything was on a web wallet, yeah, it's as simple as you put your fingerprint on there and then you can authorize it. I don't do that.
So if I was walking around with my phone, but I had a ledger at home, I wouldn't be able to send.
No,
I can't do that, right?
You can't do it. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. All right. That's very, very, very helpful.